Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women since 2006. 13 years of bringing women the empowering content from leading female visionaries, authors, and healers, inspiring them to live their best lives. I'm also excited to announce the doors are open to Inspired Living University, where you will find the masterclasses, wisdom, and expert instructors to support you in mastering the art of living. You can learn more at inspiredlivinguniversity.com. You know, I don't know about you, but I've always wondered what soul regression is. I've always been drawn to it, but I just never took the next step to learn more. So when I read the book, The Limitless Soul, Hypno-Regression, Case Studies into Past, Present, and Future Lives by today's guest, Bryn Blankinship, I knew I wanted to have her on the show. So Bryn is also the founder and executive director of the Braithe Center located in North Carolina. She's a certified master hypnotherapist and international instructor and the creator of Soul Expression Spiritual Regression. Discovering the power of hypnosis and meditation while an actress working in commercials and film at the professional level, Bryn used hypnosis as a way of removing boundaries, opening new doors in her career, and for self-healing. She found it to be a wonderful tool for calming the mind, relaxing the body, and freeing the instrument, allowing the character to emerge. Bryn changed careers to become a hypnotherapist out of a strong, deep desire to help others through their own transitions and healing. She's found it to be rewarding and went on to become a hypnosis instructor, helping students to hone the hypnosis skills. Welcome, Bryn.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
I was so excited to have this conversation out of my own curiosity, too. I always wondered what it was. And so first I got to say, what a path, right, from actress to hypnosis and meditation to doing soul expression spiritual regressions and building an international student base. So did you ever see your life coming to this beautiful place?
No. I started out on a more traditional path as a legal assistant, working in that field, and I really enjoyed what I was doing, but I had a burning desire to be an actress. And I made the decision that that was what I was going to do and started studying with a coach and left that to then go on and, be a full-time actress. And I was working up and down the East Coast, and others were working and working full-time, and I wanted to be able to do that full-time. No day job, no part-time job. That was my goal. So I went to see a hypnotherapist to help me, just improve that, because I knew that it was possible. And so I also went back and started seeing a hypnotherapist for past lives, because I felt like there was just something from a past life that was holding me back now, and I didn't know what it was. So I had a session to explore that and clear that. I had several past life sessions, and then in one of those sessions, it turned into a precognitive or a future progression. And so in that session, not only did I discover I had past lives as an artist and as a singer in Europe in other times, but I also saw myself in this future progression standing in this field with prairie grass. And there were apple trees, like an orchard, and I was just walking through the orchard having my pick, and I was picking apples off of the trees. And I knew that those apples were metaphorical apples representing acting jobs. So when I came out of the session, I just felt shifted. I felt like something had lifted off of me, and I felt different. And after I got home, out of the blue, one of my friends from L.A. called me. She had gone out there a few years before, and she called and she said, "Bryn, you really need to come out here. If you come out, that you could do a lot out here." So I got everything together, worked it out so that I could go, and then tremendous fear set in. And I mean the kind of paralyzing fear that makes it so that you can't move. So I decided I wasn't going to go. And then someone very close to me sat me down and said, "Look, you have everything lined up. Why wouldn't you go? Just do it and see what happens." So I sat with myself and just, had that conversation about just movement, moving forward, getting out of that spot that I had frozen myself in. Went out to L.A., and then things started to unfold. And I joined an acting class, and in that class, someone saw me, told their agent. She called me in, hired me on the spot, and then I was auditioning full time. So I started to live my dream. And that happened in just a few months after that session. Things just unfolded that way. And then during the course of time, I saw myself, I was on a commercial shoot up in the Grapevine, north of L.A., and I saw myself standing in this prairie grass. I was wearing my Birkenstocks, and it didn't hit me yet that I was, where I was, but I was waiting for my, the next thing that I was going to do. So I was in my street clothes, and someone said to me, "Hey, you need to watch out. There could be a snake in that grass." And I looked down at my feet, standing in that prairie grass. I looked up, and I had like a deja vu moment back into the session. And here I was standing in the scene in real life. There was the rolling hill. There were the orchard of trees beneath me, just like the trees I'd seen, but they did not have apples. But everything else was the same. So from there, I continued to do the acting and do that work. But after a couple of years, I decided I wanted to go behind the scenes and become a hypnotherapist. So that journey, I went out there also with the message, you're going to go out for one thing, but you're going to come back with another. And when it all came together, I understood. You're coming back to be a regressionist. You're coming back to do this work. And so I'd always had, that question in my mind, too, of where do we come from? Why are we here? And so doing this work, now I get to help other people figure out, why they're here, where they come from, what gifts they've brought with them to help them with what they're here to do this time.
I am so intrigued by your story because I've had moments like that. But I want to talk about what this is, right? Because I went through counseling many years ago with an amazing woman, and I wasn't past life though. I just went back to childhood to work on an issue, right? So, but that was hypnosis, and that was regression. But in this life, well, would you call that regression? Because I was going backwards. That would still be the same, but it was this lifetime, correct?
Current life regression.
Okay.
Sometimes it's called age regression, where you're
regressing. And that's what I did.
Current life issue.
Yeah, it was like 30 years ago, but I did that. So it kind of gives me a foundation and helps our listeners understand because they may be familiar with that, right? So soul expression, spiritual regression, or past life regression, walk us through what that means.
Okay. So that's taking you even further back. So you can do a regression to a current life situation, time period. You can take it further into the womb, in utero. You can take it beyond that into the past life. And that's past life regression, where we go through the past life and explore the details of that lifetime and how that relates to the client in their current life. You know, there's some people that just do a past life journey. They'll take you through a past life, and that's it. The way I work is to take you to that lifetime for a specific reason, to identify patterns and tie that into your current life and how that relates. And then soul expression, spiritual regression, takes it even further into the spirit world, where you're spending that time in the spirit world uncovering the mysteries of the soul and its incarnations there. And it is an assessment of one's current life, but it also it permits the magnification of your soul in your current mind and body. Because the SESSOR, Soul Expression Spiritual Regression, the acronym for that is SESSOR, like an assessment, an assessor session. And in that deeper state, the client has access at the soul level of the mind to identify and review past and future. And they're doing this simultaneously from the perspective of their current mind, but they also have guidance from their soul and their spiritual team. So this is helping them to find and follow their soul's guidance, to identify negative patterns that were created throughout many incarnations, and then to move through those issues more quickly, because you are having direct access to yourself in this information and in going forward. So that is how that works. And it's a deeper session. Like each phase takes you a little deeper. Age regression is not quite as deep as in utero. In utero is not quite as deep as past life regression. And then past life regression is not quite as deep as soul expression. And prior to doing a soul expression session with me, clients have already done a past life session.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Or if they're coming in from out of town, or they would have just done that prior, because it's an opening up process that starts to take place.
Well, this is so intriguing to me, and I have so many questions. And we're going to take our first break so we can continue our conversation. And I'm with Bryn Blankinship of brynblankinship.com, author of The Limitless Soul. And we'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Today we're talking about past life regression and so much more with Bryn Blankinship of The Limitless Soul, which is one of her books. Do you have a second book too, Bryn?
It's not out yet, but
I get the inside scoop. Something was coming. We'll have to watch for that, and you can learn more, as I said, at brynblankinship.com. So my question is this: when you said like someone can choose, they can go back to the womb or go back to a lifetime. How about if sometimes they know there's something there, but they can't tell you how far back to go, even though they know it was another lifetime? How do you work together to decide when it happened, or do they give you some hints of things that have dropped in, and then you go back, or is it just this natural progression?
It's a natural progression because what's happening is in their conscious mind they may not know. They may have a feeling, or they may have glimpses. They may have even had a recurring dream about it, just pieces of it. But as I'm taking them back through time, their soul, that deeper part of them, knows where to go. That part of them knows which lifetime to go to identify whatever it is that needs to be taken a look at. So it's not coming from a conscious place. It's coming from a deeper place. And then as that starts to unfold and that story around that past life starts to unfold, the client is able to identify patterns related to current life. Things they might be doing that could be holding them back from where they're at now. And then at the end of that past life, they go into the between to meet with spiritual guides to get guidance and to have a review of that past life. So they would go into soul reflection and have a review to find out more about the purpose of that past life, what that was about, and to learn more about their progress to the point that they're at now in their current life. And they're doing this with the help of their guides. And
everyone's guides are different, correct? So, okay.
We have what's called a Soul Advisory Council. That is a group of wise beings that are assigned to us, to each of us, that help with the bigger picture. And then we have our spiritual guide. And you might have more than one spiritual guide working with you, and they help with the day-to-day details. So we are part of that planning process. We are part of that life planning, pre-planning that happens before we incarnate into a lifetime, including this lifetime that we're in. And those beings, Soul Advisory Council, as well as spirit guides, help us to work out that life. And also our soul group, that core group of beings that we reincarnate time and time again with and play different roles, they're part of that planning as well because they're taking on some of those roles. So in understanding this at a deeper level, it's helping you to take more responsibility for your own life and to know that you're here by design. You're not here by accident. And it can help you take more responsibility so that you don't feel like a victim in your life. You feel more empowered. You feel more confidence. And you know that you're not alone here. There is help available. And then what we're doing with these sessions is opening up that connection to that guidance, opening up to that team. And so the Soul Advisory Council is available to us. But as I said, they help with the bigger picture. And then the guides, they are the ones that send us those hits, give us that guidance to help us know, go left instead of right, turn here. They will send recognition that helps light up when you're supposed to do something or meet someone. They help with that to help line things up. But we also have free will. So they can send us guidance, and we can ignore that guidance until we get tired of ignoring it, and we finally decide that, we want to take a higher path.
Exactly. I was one of those in my 20s and 30s that ignored the guidance and just waited for the cosmic 2x4. And then
exactly.
I said, I used to say, yeah, I ignored the little whispers. Then they'd flick me on the ear. I wouldn't listen. Then they'd tap me on the side of the head. And they said, okay, she needs the cosmic 2x4. And I'd go down on my knees and say, oh, okay, you want me to listen? Finally, I started listening earlier. One of my questions is, I've had a lot of spiritual work done, healers. I'm 57. I've been doing this 30 years. My question is, I've been told many times through various healers or processes I've gone through that I have the divine team, which all of us do, right? My question is, I've always been told in the readings I've had, these people don't know each other. They said, I've always had a very strong Native American guide who's not always there but comes when needed right to the forefront. So could someone have a guide that comes to the forefront, like for someone else it could be whatever, Archangel Gabriel, right, when it's needed for that particular situation in their life?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll have, that's when you would have more than one guide. So you have the one that helps you with the day-to-day, and then as you're learning new things or need something special, something unique, then that guide that helps with that thing will come in. So, when I was writing the book, my writing guide came forward to help me get the words. These are in the chapters in the book. These are coming from actual client sessions. It's coming from the client's words, and long transcripts would be very difficult to read, and it would make the book much, much longer. And what I did was I took the client's words and turned it into those paragraphs. But mostly and mainly, that is the client's words. Well, my guide came in and helped me clarify and help things make sense, so that when you're taking out long pauses that happened in the session and those kinds of things, you want your chapters to flow so that it's good for the reader, so that they understand what's happening. And then you may have another guide, like a guide that helps you with your magazine or with your podcast or art, or, it doesn't have to be, they don't always help only with creative things. They may help with relationships. Whatever it is that you need, you have a guide that is there to help you with those elements. And then many of us are here, on our own, so to speak. We have guidance, but we're here to be more independent, yet that guidance is still there when needed. So that is another reason why that guide could be in the background and then only come out into the forefront when you're asking for help, when you need additional help down here.
Yeah, it's just funny when you hear the same message from different people over 20 years. And when you hear a message and it resonates with truth, you just know it's truth. That's how I decipher things. It's just a knowing inside. So I was curious because too many people had said the same thing. So when you bring them back and they get to know this soul tribe, like I have an inkling. I call it my divine support team. I'm like, come on guys, let's do a powwow. But I can't name them. Like, were you able, or your clients, when you are in that part of the regression and they get to meet this soul tribe, do they get to, I don't know if the word see them, but energetically know who they are? Like, is it Archangel Michael? Is it Ganesh? Is it someone else? Does that happen?
It can. So they also have their individual spirit guides, but they do have the name for their guides. And sometimes the guides they always use humor. And so when you ask for the name, like, what is the name of your guide, once or twice a guide will say something like, names are not important, just call me Bob. Or they'll give this, beautiful name. And then other times clients' guides will change the way they appear. So they may appear with the same name that the client already is familiar with, but they may have a different appearance this time as an older Oriental man, very wise. And then another time, if they were to do another session, They may show up as a Native American or as a woman, but they'll take the form that the client needs at that time. And so when we've asked about that, it was told to one of my clients, and I think this is in chapter 1 of the book, it was told to that client, the first time you needed to see to believe. So that's the reason we showed up that way. And then the next time, you didn't need that. So there was a sense of familiarity, knowing that that was their guide. They could see that ball of light, feel the ball of light, but it didn't have a human form the way it had in prior sessions when that client had gone back. And so clients they're taking this information in different ways. They are sometimes visual. They are sometimes kinesthetic, which is feeling, sensing. Sometimes they're auditory. So it could be that the guide and the guidance is being spoken to them through their hearing. They just hear it. They just know it, like a telepathic sense of knowing. It can be like a sense of feeling, where I would ask a question and they would just feel that this is the answer, but they're not seeing anything. And then sometimes they are very visual. And often, as the session goes on, there are often a couple of those different sensations that are bringing in information.
I go back and forth between, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes it's just like a deep knowing, like when I heard that I have a Native American spirit guide, and I have to see it, I just knew it to be truth.
Yes.
And I could feel that in the depth of my heart.
I always describe this as the client is reading themselves, because I'm not reading them. They are telling me what's happening. But the client is in that deeper state, and they're tuned in to the soul level of the mind, and also their soul. Their soul comes through. It begins to speak about the client in third person, speaking to me. The soul has an immortal name as well, an eternal name that is their name throughout all of eternity. Then we come down to Earth, or we go to these planets where we have these incarnations, and then we're given a name for those incarnations as well. But all of this is coming through the client, through that deep sense of knowing. And, I like to say sometimes it feels like Star Trek, like we're down here on Earth, and we're the away team, and we're asking our team for supplies. Can you send me supplies? I need some help here. And they're back on the mothership, and they're like, okay, we have a communication down there. We need to send them this because that's what they need.
I love that. It's a great way of looking at it. And, Bryn, when we come back from our break, I'd love, if you're open to it, for you to guide us through a brief meditation. And
sure.
Oh, I would love that. So thank you. And I'll be back in a moment. I'm with Bryn Blankinship, author of The Limitless Soul, Hypno-Regression Case Studies into Past, Present, and Future Lives. You can learn more at brynblankinship.com. We'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
The world is shifting. The divine feminine is rising. Women are being called to live, lead, and serve in full alignment with their feminine essence. Introducing Marsha Mariner. Marsha is a divine feminine visionary leader, licensed therapist, hypnotherapist, and carrier of the sacred feminine wealth codes. Marsha supports consciously evolving women to break free from their conditioned self, embrace their feminine gifts, and wake up to their sacred worth. By fully embodying their own beauty and magnificence, Marsha believes women have the power to collectively shift the evolution of the world. Through virtual and live sacred circles and supportive programs, Marsha serves awakening women by helping them discover their unique soul codes so they can say yes to fully embodying their sacred worth. Begin your transformational journey by visiting marshamariner.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Welcome back. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Bryn Blankinship of brynblankinship.com. So, my friend, I'm going to hand this over to you and look forward to having you guide us through.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you just briefly. This comes from the chapter called Taking the Path of Contemplation. And the story is about a past life where the client went into a lifetime where, as a young boy, as a teenager, he lost his family. He lost his younger brother in an accident. He lost his mother and his father. His mother was grieving, and the plague came through, and she just didn't have the immune system to fight it. And so he lost his whole family. And then he became a monk, but he was an angry monk. So he had to work through those feelings of anger, and he described how he would sit under this tree that he called the thinking tree, and he would ruminate on that loss of family. But then over the lifetime, he began to move to a place of peace. And so then he would be able to recall positive events, positive memories about the life with his family, like when his mother used to make his favorite bread and jams. And it's interesting because this parallels the client's current life. He owns a chain of pubs, and he is meticulous with his recipes. And in that life, his useful purpose was making bread. He was meticulous about those bread recipes. So he has that carryover, but he had named his chain of pubs before he ever came in for the session, and it has a name related to a monk. I don't want to give away the name, but and then there's so much more that came through that session. So we're going to focus on the thinking tree meditation. And what I ask the reader, and in this case the listener, to do is to find a tree, right? You know, I've had special trees in my lifetime that I've enjoyed sitting under and contemplating. And I want you to find a tree either in your yard, outside your office, in a park, somewhere that you can sit and connect to the earth. The earth has circadian rhythms that give it the vibration that it has, and we are connected to those rhythms. And this is a way to recharge, realign. So once you have your tree and find that quiet spot, you go sit under the tree or lean your back against your tree, take your shoes off and get your bare feet on the ground, touching the earth. Close your eyes and listen. Sitting quietly, observing what's happening, and listening to the sounds around you, the sounds that you hear. Feeling the air, the sun, recognizing is there a breeze, and just feeling that warmth on your skin from the sun. Then begin to notice, where are you in your thinking? The past, the present, the future. Bring your thoughts into the present moment. Just bring your attention to the tree, feeling the wisdom, connecting with your innate ability to connect to your soul's wisdom, and feel the tree helping to support that. Feeling an energy boost as you connect with that tree. You can even pose a question, allowing the tree's energy to help you find answers to problems that you wish to resolve, and let that tree lift the weight of those things from your spirit, sending that up into the light. Just as tree limbs reach up to the sky, bringing in the light, you can bring in the answers down into your spirit, into your wakeful consciousness, so that it's much clearer for you what the answers are. And as you allow yourself to relax and know that the answers are available as you're tuning inward, you will know what it is that you need to do, what actions to take, and what it is that you need to do next. The path will get clearer if you will just sit still, tune in, and allow the energies of that tree to support that. You can practice this often and get in the habit of tuning in and recharging. You can bring your tree in anytime, even if you can't get outside, if it's winter and you can't get outside. If you're in the habit of doing this, you can bring your tree into your mind, align with it. Feel the magic, the majesty of that tree. Feel the energy, those roots reaching all the way down to Mother Earth, the tree limbs reaching up into the heavens, into the light. You're that connecting piece between heaven and earth. And as these answers are coming, afterwards, you can journal the messages that come through. And you can strengthen your own connection to your own thinking tree, aligning with yourself, aligning with nature and all around you, and moving forward, clearer, recharged, and realigned. So that's the thinking tree.
I just love that. Well, for one, you picked the most perfect one for me, because trees are one of my things I'm drawn to. Like my honey will say, "You're hanging another picture of a tree." You know, like I have them in silhouette, I have them in color, I have them in black and white. So there's no accidents that you picked that beautiful meditation to share today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
It was so beautiful. And what I love about that is it puts the power in our hands, right?
Yes.
And to me, I don't know, I think that's so powerful.
Well, when you understand that you have a direct connection to your spiritual team, that's empowering. You know, you don't need a go-between. You can connect to your soul in that deeper way. You can listen, you can learn to discern so that you understand those messages that are coming through, and you can save yourself a lot of time. You know, in the sessions with the clients, they come in and, you know, their feelings of love and joy, they're often tears of happiness. And the way in is through the heart. It's not through the head. And we're opening up this compassionate level so that we're in sync with their head and heart. You know, you don't want to be all one way or the other. You want to be in alignment so you can make the clearest, best choices for yourself. And after these sessions, that's what the client leaves with, that empowering sense of connection to their own life and learning to find and follow that guidance so that they can maneuver what's coming next with more confidence and less worry. You know, there's less worry because you know that you're not alone and you know that things will work out the way that they're meant to with that divine guidance. It takes the worry away because worry is just wasting your energies. You know, it's just an energy zapper.
Oh, yeah, it is. I spent many years in fear and anxiety in my 20s and 30s, and the contrast to how I live now to back then is night and day. So one of the questions I have is there does everyone follow the same amount of sessions? Is each person's plan different? How does that work?
Well, when the clients call in, we want to find out where they're at with what they're looking for. And there may be clients that choose to do general hypnosis first, current life stuff, and then they may come in later for a past life. Many will come in to do a past life, and some will choose to do a couple of past lives, and then they will come in to do the Sessor session. So you need to have had the past life in order to do Sessor. And so someone that's wanting Sessor would do both of those, like I said, either a day apart or around the same time, because when they're preparing for Sessor, that past life session seems to shift a bit because your soul knows why it's lined you up to have the sessions, and it's preparing you for that deeper session of Sessor. So I would say it takes that past life session to another level, so to speak. And, a lot can be gained just from a past life session, and even more from Sessor as you're aligning with soul and, understanding more about the mysteries of your own soul's incarnations and why you're here. You're awakening to the truth of who you already knew you are. You're just being reminded. It may be new information at a conscious level here, but at a soul level, your soul already knows. Your soul is here to remind you, and it's saying you're ready. You're ready to do this and align so that you can move forward with more ease and feeling less restriction, feeling more supported as you are moving forward.
I love it's like we're always being divinely supported. It reminds me of a saying that my mom used to tell me way back when I was going through a lot around my 20s. She said, you're never given anything more than you can handle. And, of course, back then I didn't want to hear it. But now I look at it as when things come up for us to heal, it's because our divine support team knows we're ready for that healing. So it brings it up to the surface. Is that how you would describe what you've seen?
Yes. Because if you're not ready, it's not going to happen. If you're not ready, then maybe, now that the book is out, there's some exercises, reading those chapters can help the client awaken and get some understanding through the perspective of the clients that I used in the book. And that's helping to prepare them. And then there are exercises, journaling exercises and other types. And then when you come in for the session, you're more ready to awaken. And then some clients never read a book, but they are ready. They just know that it's time for them to do this. And then they'll come in, do the sessions, and then it awakens them to an even deeper part of themselves, that spiritual side that has been waiting patiently for this time period for the client to be ready. In the book, there's a chapter about the gifts that you bring with you, and it talks about the pre-planning that goes into our incarnations. And this one client, she just so beautifully described how we bring in all these elements in this invisible suit. And it is our birthday suit. And this birthday suit is tailored for you, and it has in it what you'll need. Well, that suit is created with you, with your soul, your spirit guides, your soul advisory council, all go into pre-planning that suit this lifetime, and that suit holds what you're going to need that you can access along the way when you get to that part, when you're going to need it. And Earth is the emotional planet. So half the battle is managing one's emotions. And when you can get more balance, then you're not reacting off of situations. You're not creating problems for yourself by reacting You're just clearer so that you can come from an empowered place when you react. And, that birthday suit has everything that you need. And so when it's time, you will awaken to the next phase of what you're supposed to do. And then these sessions offer a spiritual recharge. It really brings in that soul energy into this being to recharge the client moving forward and to have more joy. Because when you find your joy, what brings each of us joy is different, but when you find your joy and align with it, you're happier, things work out better, and things seem to fall into place more easily. You're not caught up in that worry. In the hypnosis world, we always say that worry is like negative hypnosis. And hypnosis in our sessions is positive hypnosis, redirecting your thoughts towards your goals and where you want to be. And then with this spiritual work, we're taking it to an even deeper level, deeper than the mind, deep into the soul, bringing that piece of soul out so that it can help guide you, that spiritual alignment.
It all is so powerful and so beautiful. And now, the few minutes that we have left, I want to know, can you share some of the things that the people you worked with in your book experienced to give our listeners even a greater understanding?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so these sessions were taken from actual case studies, and I have thousands of hypnosis session hours with clients, guiding them into the state. And, one that comes to mind is a session with a woman who she was grief-stricken. She had lost, it was a Civil War widow who had lost her husband, her partner, and there was just such a tremendous state of loss. And there were some issues that were affecting the health of my client when she came in current life, and it took us into that lifetime and then into the spirit world. And in going there, it helped clear up and improve that health condition and help put her on a clearer path to healing. Because the grief was deeply embedded. But it also helped her to move out of some of those beliefs that were holding her back. Then there's another one that comes to mind with, it's about a spiritual rehabilitation for injured souls. This client's job in the spirit world is a soul doctor. Sometimes we think going into the spirit world that it's just a place where we just sit back and relax, but we actually have jobs there. But they're jobs that we enjoy doing, that we're helping humanity. And in her situation, she works with displaced souls, and she incarnates to study humans and then goes back to take that knowledge back to work with those souls who during their incarnations sometimes got off track to a level that they needed to be into a rehab to reparent that soul back to its origins. So this helped her to understand why she has a unique perspective in human life with people and, isn't caught up in some of the materialism and day-to-day stuff, because she's always been that old soul that's looked at things deeper. And it was just really incredible because in her session, it talked about in the spirit world how there's a special place that her soul has to go to as this soul doctor goes to this sanctuary, like a little cottage that has a vibration to it that helps rest in between working there and in between incarnating on Earth. So that was really powerful to learn about. There's another one that comes to mind. There's a client who's a scientist, and she actually chose science to work close to nature and to know more about how it works. And in her session, she went into a place that was a very sensory place. So she had a past life as a Native American man and took us to that place that kind of shifted her energies a bit And then when she came back for the Sessor session, in the spirit world, in the between, they actually took her to that same sensory place and did like a chakra rebalancing. There were tremendous energy downloads that happened during the session. And we found out more about her job as a scientist and how this time for this incarnation, that was the perfect opportunity for her soul, body, and mind to work together using both hemispheres of the brain. So she could use the spiritual side along with the scientific side to help society with that information. And it leads us to a meditation, a full moon meditation that's really beautiful in the book.
Yeah, so just sharing those three, I want to say scenarios, 3 client experiences, it just gives us a better understanding of what's waiting for us when we're willing to do this work. And as we come to a close, I just want to, I know the listeners may be wondering, you can do this virtually also, right? Not just in your office?
No, I actually do this just one-on-one.
Wow, that's even more powerful. What a sacred gift.
Yeah. I don't like
Let them know where you're located.
I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina, on the coast. So clients will usually come in, have a session, go jump in the ocean afterwards, and use that time to recharge. And they can reach me at brynblankinship.com, BrynBlankinship.com. And
I invite everyone, if you got a little niggle, in your energy going, I need to do this, please reach out to Bryn at her website. Pick up a copy of her book, The Limitless Soul, Hypno-Regression, Case Studies into Past, Present, and Future Lives. Bryn, I'm so glad that you followed your soul niggles, and moved from actress to the sacred work you're doing now. It is so needed, so appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Linda. And you too. You've done the same. You followed that guidance to put you where you are now.
Yeah, it's the only way I can live now for the last 20 years. I just, even if it doesn't make sense to my mind, and my audience knows my story, and I have to stay true to my heart, and I let that lead the way. And it's been an amazing journey since I started doing that.
Yes, and when you understand that you're not here by accident and that you are part of that divine plan, then you'll find your way through as you're going through those transition points.
Exactly. So thank you, my friend, for joining me today. I am so glad that we got to share this space together.
Me too. Thank you again for having me on. This is lovely.
You're welcome. And everyone, I look forward to seeing you on the show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Times on the OMTimes Radio Network. You can also catch the show on all major podcast platforms, including iTunes. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, my friends. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.